Hey everybody, we are at RIA Edge West, and I've got Rob Madore, VP, over at MarshBerry?
It's close. It's close. I like to say the MarshBerries taste like marshberries if you're a Willy Wonka fan. So,
All right.
MarshBerry.
So MarshBerry. Rob, big question for you. This is probably like the one I'm most excited to ask because I don't know where you're going to go with this. What's your most controversial belief about the future of the wealth industry?
So like a little softball to begin with.
Yeah, we're just, it's a T-ball, just hit it out.
Well, I think where I'd probably end up starting on that is going to be really tied to what we do, right? You know, we all work in these certain lanes and we see certain things, and I think one of the advantages to being in between both lots of transactions and working with lots of RIAs on the consulting side is you get to see, you know, kind of what works and what doesn't. I think if I was to, on the spot, thank you, be asked what is the most controversial take on the industry, it would probably be, you know, there's certainly a lot of consolidation. That is in no way, shape, or form escaping probably anyone that will watch this video. And that has happened in other industries as well. And I think, so maybe this is controversial, maybe it's not, but there are a lot of really smart people with a lot of capital trying to build, you know, some of these very large scaled, you know, aggregators, integrators, however you want to term them.
Right.
And I think what history has shown, and this may be the controversial take, is not everyone can succeed. Right? Right now there's 50 plus firms that have some capital and are acquiring and are trying to do something like this, where they're building. You know, and I'll steal Mark Tibersian's words on this, so thank you, Mark, if you're out there.
Solid guy to borrow from. Yeah.
He's a pretty good, he's been around for 1 or 2 years, and he seems to be,
he's
you
done
know,
a few things.
He's been ahead of a few things. But, you know, there are a lot of folks trying to build firms that are scaled as opposed to just firms with scale. Point being, you know, and I think it's a lot easier to amass size, which a lot of people are doing really well. It's a lot harder to actually make those firms into scaled firms, right? And that's where the ultimate value is found. And if you think about it from, you know, the investor side, everyone has to exit at some point, and there's always an ultimate investor. And I think what the markets, by and large, have shown is that they value integration and combined firms. But that's a really hard, really tall task. Whether you're a $1 billion firm acquiring a $250 million firm, or whether you're a $100 billion firm acquiring, you know, $10 billion firms. It's really hard to integrate them. It's people, it's processes, it's technologies, it's custody. You know, there's a whole host of things that, and I think my controversial take, you know, to get back to it, is just not everyone's going to succeed, and there's going to be future consolidation amongst consolidators.
So are you one of the guys who says, like, hey, I think Joe Duran talks about this, where it's like, hey, there's going to be a couple firms at the top, and there's going to be gigantic, and then there's going to be kind of small firms here and there, just a little bit. Are you of that belief, where it's like the consolidation is just going to keep going until you've almost got the RIA equivalent of like these Merrills and Edward Jones and these types of
and I think you can look at other industries that are somewhat related, like in the retirement world, DC, you know, plans. You look at record keepers and Power, right, Voya, and what you see as you get to these late stage consolidations is that you have typically 3 or 4 top firms that own like 75% of the market. And I was at a really good event last week that was run by Ben Harrison and the BNY, you know, Pershing team. And there's some research presented there that basically says we're far off from that, right? I mean, the largest certainly, you know, have a fair amount of heft and control a fair amount of the market, but it's nowhere near that 75%. So even though you do have firms like CapTrust that out, you know, I think they had $1 trillion in assets. So there's some significant scale out there.
Very sizable,
Pretty significant. Wouldn't have minded building that business about 20 years ago. Good job fielding. But you'd say 2 things. You'd say, A, like the largest firms are going to swallow up the industry to the point where no one who's an independent and smart can compete.
Yeah.
You know, or B, you'd say AI is coming to take our jobs, and you know, you're going to have a Terminator T800, you know, that's serving clients.
Yeah.
And humans don't matter.
Right.
On the latter part, I don't think that's happening, though. We'll see. We'll see if Elon has his way, and we'll have robot advisors.
Good ways away from that, right?
I think so too. I think it's more exciting than anything, because if there's anything we see in doing the consulting, it's that humans don't scale exceptionally well. You hit a point, and then it falls off, and it's also really hard to find them. And I think the advent of all this technology and process management, the augmented advisor is going to be more effective, which probably ties into the first, that first piece, which is I don't think the largest firms are going to make it impossible to survive and thrive as a smaller independent.
Okay.
You just have to be more intentional. You have to pay more attention to the bottom line. You can't just kind of willy-nilly add services for the sake of adding services, because it's going to eat at your margin and make it harder for you, to grow and thrive as a business.
Yeah.
But I do think you are going to see some of these larger national firms growing that cachet with clients in their markets as well, right? I mean, you could probably make an argument today that the brand awareness in all these markets of even really awesome firms like Creative Planning is probably nowhere near where it will be in 10 years. So it makes it harder to compete as an independent, but if you know what you're doing, you probably can. And some other stats are, that I saw at that Pershing event, which I really liked, was the industry does regenerate. So small, I think it was something around the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing, it's not going to be exact here, but it was something like, for every dollar that's acquired, half of a dollar of assets is kind of re-injected through a smaller sub-$100 million RIA. So the industry is regenerating. It means that there's a really long runway. It also means that there's a lot of opportunity to continue being that small advisor.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, man. Thanks for taking time to share your thoughts with me. I know you got a busy schedule.
Of course. We got anything else? You're not going to hit me with like what's going to happen.
That's the hardest thing I have.
In politics or anything. Come on.
We're going to steer clear of that.
Sounds good.
All good, man. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.